How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and welcome back to our playthrough of Fall from Heaven 2, the high fantasy mod for Civilization 4. Today, we're going to be starting a new scenario in our scenario that involves Falmar of the Lonin. It's called the Radiant Guard, and it comes after the recently completed the Momos scenario. So, going by the description here, it says, protect the citizens of Born the Gleaming until they complete the Mercurian Gate. Kill 100 infernal units before any attack Born to win. That should read before any Born attack to win, but what can you say? It's a free mod. So special rules involve the player cannot go further west than the starting location, and the infernal civilization receives free units in their cities every turn. It requires the successful completion of the previous scenario that we were on up until this point, the Momus. Okay, let's get started. We're going to be playing it on the Emperor difficulty, as per usual. Let's get started here. Okay, we've got a little bit of lore to get through. Roana spoke to the unit commander in hushed tones. He wore the same golden armor as his men, but had passed through a few more winters, and his authority was obvious from the respect his men showed him. Felmar noticed that black tattoos snaked up from under his armor and wrapped around his neck, and his left hand was covered with intricate tattoos, which was highly unusual for a commander of the Radiant Guard. He also looked pained, stressed beyond even the ravages of war. Roana walked back to where Falmar and the crew stood. He says Born is threatened from internal and external forces. He wants us to lead the troops in the field to keep the Infernals from attacking the Born while they fight the heretics inside the city. Felmar walked close enough that they could talk without anyone overhearing. Who is the commander? He looks afraid of more than death. Roana glanced back at the commander, who was in the process of splitting his men, some to return to the city and others to stay and await orders. His name is Kael. He is the son of an Emery, she answered. He grew up among the Shi'am before splitting and dedicating his life to the Empyrean. That explains the tattoos, but that should make him less afraid of war. The heretics have captured his wife and 3-year-old daughter. They demand he take his men and abandon the city, and he has refused. There isn't much hope he will be able to save them. She said this last part softly, but Kael was behind her and heard it. If the words affected him, he didn't show it. I am the shield until the sword comes free, he intoned. If you hold the line here, I will scourge the heretics from Born, and the Basium will have a base to launch his war from. If the Infernals slip through your line, then Born will fall, and the devils will consume this land. I will give you some of the guard to stand with you. Will you battle Hybor? Yes, Felmar said without hesitation. Take care of Born and leave the devils to us. Okay, so here we are on the map. As you can see, the city right here is Born the Gleaming, and then over to this side we have the Infernal. You can't see many of them right now, but what we need to do is kill 100 of their units without letting any of them get past this area of the map and reach the city of Born the Gleaming. To this end, we're going to need to do a little bit of strategic placement of units here. Now you might notice that we didn't actually have a city or anything to start. We're not going to have cities in this mission. It's more of a squad-based tactics mission. So right there, I summoned a floating eyeball to do a little bit of scouting up here. Now I've played this mission before in the past, so I'm just going to immediately move the units to their ideal locations. And that involves putting this Radiant Guard all the way up there. This Ranger goes in between these mountains here. These swordsmen are going to fortify on that square, and then this mage is going to go to this tile here next to the river. Same thing for over here. Once again, we're going to cast the floating eyeball and just do a little bit of scouting of the terrain here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. You can draw lines on the map. I know this is a little bit jerky. I'm going to do like a new line. I'm going to give you a general idea of what we're defending. So that first bit, the defense goes a bit like this. So that's one line. The second line is going to start right about here as well. I'm going to go over like this. Third line is going to reach what I think is all the way over. Okay, we got the mountains over here. So I'm going to draw this line as well. And then I probably will do a little bit of scouting over on this area. So we also have a few ships here. One of them is for transporting cargo, and you'll see later that we need this because we can't just stand here and wait for the Infernals to come to us. We actually have to be a little bit proactive and move towards them. So we're going to take some of our units here and make in that direction, I guess you could say, in the easterly direction. So we're probably going to use the musketmen, this Archmage here, one of the strongest units that we have, the boarding party as a unit, these two mages down here, and the ranger, in addition to Guybrush Threepwood. We're going to have them on the ships, and the rest of the units will have to defend this general area. So we can see the last bit here that needs to be marked out. We still have new lines set up, so I'm just going to draw this last line across the terrain there. So now this gives you an idea of what it is that we're going to be defending and where our units are going to need to be placed, hopefully. We'll see how it goes from here. So the first thing that I want to do is get my units into position as quickly as possible so none of the Infernals can get through. I want to put my strongest units on the weakest locations, obviously, and it also will help to have a mage or two around here, so that'll be good. This archer, for example, is going on top of the forested hill for the 50% defense bonus as opposed to an open hill. I'm going to have a Radiant Guard guard these two tiles. This Radiant Guard probably needs to go to this tile there. Now, it's important to note, I think, that we don't want to enclose quite all of the tiles in that line that I drew. We need to leave one open, so that way the AI will constantly chase it down. They won't attack us. They will instead just try to make a beeline for that one gap that they can get through. Okay, this boarding party is also going to go up here. It's one of the weaker areas up there. And along with the chariot, probably going to go all the way up here. Past that mountain ranger there because of its speed. Of course, the usefulness of a chariot in this scenario is debatable because it's there's just too much inclement terrain. Let's just say too many forests, too many hills. Highborn converts to the Ashen Vale. Quite understandable. Let's get all of these units into position, as well as the ships. The two arcane barges are capable of summoning fireballs that can be used to deal a little bit of damage and bombard enemy cities. Here we can see one of the first Infernal units. The interesting thing about the Infernal units, of course, in this one is the fact that they're not very inclined to attack me, let's just say. And you might notice some excessive turn times for this scenario because the Infernals have a lot of units. I'm going to be promoting Guybrush Threepwood here for general attack instead of city attack promotions. I've run the calculations on it, and city attack promotions generally don't come out ahead. I mean, they come out ahead, but it's so insignificant that you're at a serious disadvantage anytime you're not fighting against cities. And this is something I realized recently, and it kind of goes against some of the actions that I've done in past scenarios, I guess you could say. Because in the past, I have been more than willing to promote units for city attack if I thought I was going to be using them to attack cities. But, I mean, like, the same thing probably applies here. Most likely those axemen there will not attack my hunters, even though I don't know. It's not that disparate of a power ratio. The hunter's 4 strength and the axeman's 5, but I'm on top of a forested hill, so it's not like he'd have great odds, but from what I've seen, the Infernals are reluctant to attack pretty much at any time. So we've got a ranger up there in place. There's no need to choose civics. Let's summon in another eyeball here and just do a little bit more scouting of the terrain so we have a general idea of what things look like around here. Still don't see the bulk of the enemy military. And since we can summon as well as move in one turn. It's really no skin off my nose, I guess you could say, to do both. So our transport is here. We've got 2 units aboard already. We also want the boarding party on there, musketmen, and this Archmage. That hunter is just going to be brought back. There's really no reason to scout with them. Too many enemy units running about out there anyway. The longbowmen are just going to fortify on the self-same hill. Let's skip these turns here for the ships. And the longbowman's going to fortify in that tile. Mage going to fortify. You can see a lot of units are moving into place. Now there are some alternative defensive positions, but overall I feel this is the easiest one to adopt very quickly. The other ones require that you advance a considerable distance. So that's why I'd recommend this one. Okay, a hunter there. This guy, I'm just to make sure he doesn't get attacked, I'm moving that hunter back. We should have a couple more units to move into the transport. Those 2. And this mage there. Okay, there's also another mage on this tile. Here we go. We should have everything now. So I'm going to use the Fair Winds promotion from that Archmage to give all of our ships here a little bit of extra movement range. The Eyebrush got another promotion there. In general, I'm not going to bother promoting those units until I actually need to. I realized that the way I laid this out here wasn't quite true. I'm actually going to be defending these 2 tiles instead because they're less exposed. So if you look at this, I could be attacked from 3 tiles if I defended on the tile with the lighthouse. But if I defend from in here, I can only be attacked from 1 tile. So it's pretty obvious, which tiles are the ones I should defend. Same for over here. We should defend in an L shape like this instead of going over in an N or H shape. Hope that makes sense. Just a little bit of inaccuracy there on my part. So now one thing that we want to make sure that we don't do is absolutely enclose the entire path. You might find this a bit strange, but the game does not like it when there is no path to the gleaning civilization, well, to the city of Born the Gleaning of the Mercuryans over here, and it makes the mission harder if you do it that way. So regardless of what happens, we want to make sure we leave a path for them that they can follow, and at least keep their hopes up that they will be able to get through without fighting. Which, of course, is a bit curious that they seem so unwilling to fight. The player in this mission. They are the Infernals after all. We have a lot of units on this tile. I'm thinking of moving both hunters over here next to the archers the archer there at the moment. They'll be defending in that forest. I'll leave the boarding party here to defend by itself. I think we have most of our units in place. One more turn, and that last Radiant Guard will then be in place, and we can start the defense in earnest, I guess you could say. There will be quite a few infernal units that we'll see out and about as time goes by. So we're making our way east here to the first infernal city, and this is where we meet the Banner. You might recall in the past we have had dealings with the Banner. They're the ones who originally were after some ships that Felmar had won, and ultimately it was agreed that they would assist Felmar and his crew in exchange for being able to command the ships. So you can see she has command of one of the ships now. As you'll see shortly, she needs our help to actually get through to the infernal lands, and that's where removing this city comes into play. So that's why we need to capture it, and that's why we have the crew here that I set up. Now, we're going to start being introduced to some of the magic units, the mages. And up until this point, I've never really used them a lot in my past playthroughs because I didn't focus much on this branch. But we have 2 general mages here in this boat, as well as an Archmage, which is an upgraded version of the general mage and can get access to higher quality spells. And I decided to use the Maelstrom promotion here for that one. And this one, you'll see I do this for a lot of them actually. But for the Archmage, I want to do... Let's see here. There is a... Okay, Earth 2, and then Earth 3, as well as Maelstrom. And this will give me the ability to summon an Earth Elemental, which is a great unit that is expendable. And we'll use it to, you know, break the defenses early on. You see here, Maelstrom deals a good amount of damage, much like our Ritualists in past episodes would deal. So like, that Longbowman there is down to 3.5. And then, as I pointed out before, we have the Archmage, who can summon in an Earth Elemental, which is Strength 11. There's only 51% chance of attacking that one, so I think maybe we'll wait 1 turn. Or maybe not. Because what we can do here, we can use both of these Arcane Barges to summon in Fireballs. And I can try to use those for a little bit of extra damage against them. I'm not sure if it was successful. It doesn't look like it was... Well, it was successful against 1 of the units. 82.6 was not too successful there with the Elemental, but once again, that was an expendable unit, so I'm not too concerned about it. Unfortunately, I probably just got a unit that I attacked the promotion by expending my unit on it. So that's never good. Let's try again this turn. This time we actually have the full armada here. And I want to promote for additional damage, probably. +5 to spell damage. Let's try that. As well as combat 1. Same over here. And we're going to summon in the Earth Elemental again. After first attacking the units in this city. It appears that Longbowman now has the promotion for Hill's attack, which is quite unfortunate. At least the borders of the city have not expanded yet. But let's try attacking with our fireballs once again. We're down to 3.0. Okay, our golem died there. As you can see now, both of the longbowmen are pretty damaged at this point. Hopefully, with a few promotions, we'll be able to take them out. There's still another axeman in there. Let's see here. Perhaps our aquabus can be of assistance. It would appear so. Let's see here. All we have left is a boarding party. Damn, that longbowman is not going away easy, is it? Quite disappointed in that. I don't want that one to hang around forever. Because I have some of the best promotions. I want it dead. Do you hear me? I want it dead. So you can see these axemen here are headed for this tile. I'll probably take them out when they get there. There's no point in letting them roam around. Let's see here. I suppose we don't have very good odds against them, huh? 50%. And we don't have anything good to throw in there, so I'm just sacrificing a unit at this point. There we go. Now we want to make sure that there's still an opening. So because I closed that opening, I'm going to open one up here. At the very top. Pretty good odds against those scouts, so I'm doing that. Guybrush almost died there. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to cast Regeneration, which will help my units heal in enemy lands and heal while still being able to attack. And I'm going to do some damage here, axeman damage a little bit by lightning damage. And then okay, we got another promotion here for the Archmage. It's a good question. Do I want to... Air Elemental. I've used this in the past, usually for scouting more than anything else. But at the moment, I think it's actually more important to go with Empower 1 or Combat 1 because this grants a promotion to units that we summon, like the Earth Elemental here. So as you can see, the Earth Elemental now has the Empower 1 promotion, which gives us an additional 10% strength, which helps counter these terrible, terrible odds that we're getting around here. Let's bring the fireballs in again. Although I'm tempted not to. This might be the excellent opportunity I was waiting for to remove that archer there. And yes, it would appear so. Now, we're not going to take the city right away. You might be a little bit surprised by that, but there's really not a whole lot of reason to, because we can effectively farm units from this city. So we're going to hang around here for a bit. Well, it's going to take 5 turns for Guybrush to finish healing. Hopefully, I'll get a promotion from his natural ability as a hero before those 5 turns are up. Let me see here in just a second. Yeah, in 2 turns, we're going to be getting another promotion. So that's handy. It means we won't have to wait all 5 turns. The promotion will partially heal him. So the Infernal, every turn they get a couple of new units in their cities. So this creates sort of a unit farm here for us, and we can just farm units out of this city, which is what I plan on doing. But I am going to call in an eyeball here, just to do a little bit of scouting in this general area. As you can see here, there's some more units sitting around from the Infernals. Let's see. Here's some of the attack party Infernals, some horsemen. Hopefully they'll be heading up here. And as soon as that happens, then we'll open this side up again and have them just run back and forth between both of those. Like that, see? We'll keep them in a constant state of confusion, which is to our advantage. Okay, with this one, I'm tempted to call in Fireball, but then again, I don't use Fireball that much. So let's do Combat 2 instead. And how many units do we have here that can counter? 72% on that. And I hit it again with my Archmage. And then we're going to bring in some fireballs as well for a little bit of extra damage. Hopefully, I don't know, it doesn't seem to have damaged. Okay, it damaged one of them a bit. It's always dangerous doing that because you're going to give them experience, basically. I might just stick to one attack with fireballs because that guarantees that they won't get any experience from it. We'll see. 97.5 with that unit. And 97.3. I think I'd rather attack with the boarding party. So as you can see, this mission is not the most active. And it's a little bit repetitive, I guess you could say. Okay, so here we get our first message from the Bannon. We sail for the Fane of Lessers to assault the Throne of Hell itself, but the infernal city of Bastardam stands in our way. If you can capture the city, we will aid you in your war in the Dead Lands. As you can see, these units here are making a beeline for this position here again, so it's time to block that off. And open up another one up here. So this is the city of Bastardam, and as you might have inferred from that message, if we want the Bannon support in the next scenario, we're going to need to remove this city. So we most certainly intend on removing it, but we're going to wait a little bit to farm up some more enemies, because at the moment we have 91 enemies left to kill for this one. And here we go with Felmar's Guybrush. I always confuse those two names. Felmar is the leader of the Lonin here, and Guybrush Threepwood is a hero. I mistake those names. No, I shouldn't. Okay, we're gonna promote that one for this mage for fireball, so at least one of our mages can summon a fireball. We have a Hellhound that was spawned in there, and there's some other units over here, which hopefully will come to guard the city as well that I can kill. But we're going to be using our lightning attacks here, as per usual. Like that. And I think in this situation... Okay, our boarding party does have a second promotion there. So we're getting that one nicely promoted. Rangers' odds are not so hot. Let's see what the Aquabus odds are. 99.9. And we also have some defense. I should have done this before. But the city also has some defense that need bombardment, which we can do with a fireball. So, fireball will bombard that down to 0. And I'll just waste that fireball. And oh, I actually destroyed an Infernal Warrior with my fireball. So, overall, that's pretty good. I'm pretty sure we have the ability to do a little bit of scouting here. Well, this unit does not have the ability to summon the floating eyeball, so I'll have to keep that in mind in the future. I guess we're not going to do anything then. I think. Let me see here. Yeah, that's correct. Guybrush should be just about healed. When he has the ability to acquire the heal while moving 10% promotion, we'll most certainly be adding that to his list of promotions as well. Okay, we're seeing more of the Infernals over here. And by and large, we're not going to deal with them until we actually get back from the city of Bastardam. From successfully sieging it. Okay, we have a lot of units in here now. Should make for some excellent target practice, let's say. All of them look relatively weak. And the Guybrush is mostly healed at this point. So let's bring him back into the fray after a long absence of a time of leave to heal. Which, of course, was something I didn't really want to have happen, but it works. My boarding party is too afraid to attack the Spectre. That is a thing that can happen. So we have a Spectre left there. I think I'm going to summon in a Earth Elemental. And the great thing about these is they are immune to... Okay, they're just immune to damage. I thought they were not that capable of fear, but maybe they are. So never mind about that. And the rest of these ships, I'm just going to have them sleep out here, out of the range of my Archmages. Or my Mages and Archmages. So notice, now the Infernal units are headed up again. At first they were headed for me down here. You can tell they've turned now, and they're headed up towards the top of the map, where that last gap is that they can sneak through, which is really interesting that they don't just all-out assault me on any of these positions. But I guess it makes sense, because otherwise I'd need a lot of units. And then this scenario would be a lot more luck than anything else, because you'd have to guess which area they'd concentrate most of their attack on, and then concentrate your units on it as well. For those who might have noticed that I'm a little bit short of breath this time. Oh, and by the way, here's an Ira. How unfortunate for me that that's the only unit in there. I can't remove it. I suppose we're going to be doing some scouting this turn instead. Yeah, so somebody... You might notice I'm a little bit short of breath this episode. And it's mostly because I'm just dealing with a little bit of a sickness that I caught recently, which makes it a little bit more difficult to... It's apparently impeded my ability to speak at length without taking breaths. So you'll hear shorter sentences with breaths interspersed in between them. Hopefully it's not too much of an issue. I'm trying to make it as minimalist as possible, or as inconspicuous as possible, but being sick always sucks. So let's see. I think everything is healed here. Guybrush is hurt again, but he still has his regeneration promotion, so we don't have to bother with that. Yeah, I think we're good here. It's important to continue scouting this area in general, because the Infernal can attack with or can reinforce here with a very, very large stack of units that I have a difficulty in beating. And so we want to take this city out before that stack gets here. But at the same time, we want to farm as many of these units up as possible that are regenerated in this city every turn, or every couple of turns, it depends. That's why I want to delay the capture of it as long as possible. There's Guybrush, still injured. You just have the one Hellhound left there. Have that unit skip its turn again. The turn times in this scenario are a little bit longer than usual because the Highborn, the Infernal, Highborn leads the Infernal. They have a lot of units, and therefore it takes a while for the game to move them all. There's a Horseman and a Hellhound in there. I don't think it's anything too special. The Ira left, which is unfortunate. That was a very strong unit, and I wanted to kill it. But we have to do without. In general, 2 mages casting Maelstrom are enough to fully damage the stack. Very seldom do you need more than 2 to attack. There we go. Another unit down. And let's move on. Okay, so you might see some of the Infernal units, Horsemen coming through here. I'm just going to have the Chariot sleep. But I think this is getting a little bit too close for my comfort up here. I don't want them to get through accidentally, so I'm going to move the Radiant Guard into position there. And then we're going to open a passage down here again before moving on to this city. Let's attack these a couple times, and we finally have the ability to summon an air elemental. I have the promotion for it. So here's the air elemental, and this thing is cool because it has the ability to walk across water. So it will allow us to attack units at range. And that basically means like I could be in the ship and I could be attacking units on the shore with this air elemental pretty effectively. It has a good amount of range, and it has 7 strength. So it's effective against mid-range units. Let's use Guybrush to attack that unit. The Ranger. And probably this boarding party. There we go. All done. Let's see here. See what happens to these units this turn. They should turn around and go back. Let's see. Did they? Yes, you can see they're headed back now. So we're going to fortify the Radiant Guard up there. Oh, we didn't get any units spawning out of there. I should have used... That was a mistake there. I should have used that unit to promote these units for healing this turn. Because unfortunately that's going to take a long time otherwise. I'm going to cast a Stone Skin promotion on my Archmage. Since I have a free turn here, basically. And then there's no reason why we shouldn't do a little bit of scouting with the Floating Eyeball here. Just to make sure everything is a-okay. Because there's nothing to kill in that city this turn. Here we go, Guybrush has another promotion. That Ranger is also hurt very badly. I need to remember to do that next turn. I'm gonna have the Scout set to Sentry. Make sure I don't forget about him, and then Infernal units get through. Okay, so here's the promotion I wanted to use, Regeneration. And, I mean, it doesn't make it a whole lot better, but now it's like 4 turns to heal instead of 11 for these units. 4 turns and 4 turns, yeah. So we got more units in the city, of course. I'm gonna use Maelstrom against them. And Guybrush should be able to take a couple out. Well, only one, but... Guybrush plus the Aquabus. And as you can see here, we're down to 70, I think 78 enemies left to take out. Okay, Basium wants open borders. Why not? It doesn't even matter, we're not a complete civilization here. As you can see, the Infernals are headed our way. Need to keep an eye on that, of course. So these units here, these 2 are healing quite nicely. There's nothing left in that city. So we're gonna do some scouting with the eyeball again here. And I think the rest of these units can just skip their turns. Like that. So this is also getting our units a lot of good experience by sitting here farming this city. Let's Let's do a little bit more damage there. Attacking with the Aquabust first. Then Guybrush. And we have a horseman left. So I have to use either my ranger or my boarding party to get rid of him. Neither of these two are very strong. 99.6, I guess that does it though. Okay. Things are going well so far. Okay, these units are getting too close here. I'm going to close that passage off. And we're going to open the one at the top again. Just to keep those units running around as much as possible. No new units this turn. So we're going to stay here. Oops, that unit has a promotion coming to it. There we go. Let's see, the units should be headed away. The infernal units, yes indeed they are. So they're headed back to the top of the map there. Okay, Guybrush finally has the ability to promote for March, which also heals an additional 10% damage a turn. Which is something we definitely need. So that's why I'm using that promotion. What are the odds here? 99.9. Let's also use the Aquabus. And then there's just a wire left, which we're going to leave. Because we don't want to capture that city just yet. How many enemies left? 73? It'd be nice to get down to at least 50 before we needed to leave this city here. But a lot of this depends on how the game generates units. Ultimately, if they don't generate a lot of units, then we don't get many kills. One of the things I've always been keen on, and I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to move this mage. Oh wait, actually I don't have to move the mage at all. I'm going to summon in this eyeball though from time to time. To make sure there are no units like lurking over here. As you can see, these hounds are pretty close and they're getting there at a quick pace. Like they'll be there in a couple turns compared to the rest of the units that are down here. So those hounds might be worth taking out there, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, we've got more units here. A couple wires and a specter. We have another promotion available to our Archmage now. So I think I'm going to promote for Spell Extension 1 here, which will give all the units that this Archmage brings into the world the Mobility 1 promotion. I think this is especially useful for the Archmage because there are a lot of units we can summon here. As I pointed out before, like there's an Air Elemental, we've used the Earth Elemental, and there's also a Water Elemental that I haven't used yet in this scenario. So now usually when we summon the Air Elemental, it has 4 movement, which means I can move it something like this, which actually gives us even a better range of visibility than it did with the Floating Eyeball, I think, or slightly better. Let's get a couple of these units out of the city. Excellent. I should have used the time to promote for healing on the Aquabus units there. So here, let's do that this turn. We have a Spectre in there. That shouldn't matter too much. And Guybrush was afraid to attack. How about the Ranger? Ranger's afraid to attack. How about a boarding party? Boarding party's afraid to attack. How about our Aquabus? Aquabus is not afraid to attack. Thank you. Reduces the amount of BS to a minimum. Okay, I'm gonna scout out here again. I think those units are pretty close. Those Hellhounds. Yeah. I could see them definitely entering this tile this turn. So we're gonna close this passage off. And once again, reopen the one down here again. Should keep them out of my hair for a bit. Oh, lovely. We have another specter to a fight here. This time I'm bringing in the eyeball because I want to make sure there's nothing going on over here. What is that? It's a wraith. And this is a pretty big stack here. This is a worrisomely large stack. If this gets too close, this stack right here, we're going to have to finish the city off early. Quite unfortunate, but yeah. That's the state of things. Because I don't have enough units to counter that stack, it's too big. If you take a look at what's in it, it's like, holy crap, look at all those units. And some of them are really very strong, like stronger than my units. 12? The Iras are 12. And my strongest unit is 10. And it's an Aquabus. So we just have to keep ourselves posted on the ongoings of those units. Not a whole lot else we can do about it. There's nothing that guarantees that they'll approach the city or go back. Okay, we're gonna use an air elemental this time. They seem to be approaching. If that is the case, we'll capture the city and then move on. Because we do want to capture the city. Well, we can't capture it, we have to raise it, but we don't want to leave it here. It'll make the next scenario more difficult. So what do I want to promote for here? I think we're just going to do more strength. No problem making our spells stronger. 4.9. Remove that unit. Skip turn there. You can see some of the hunters are getting over to this side of the map very quickly already. Oh, there's some magic going on over there. Let's promote for heroic attack here with Guybrush. There's a lot of units there, but they're not very strong. So let's bring in the air elemental. I'm gonna get it on top of this mountain again. Yes, it would appear they continue their march towards us. Quite unfortunate. Quite unfortunate. But we want to score as many hits here as possible before abandoning this location. It's an extra 3, which I think is pretty decent. Okay, these units will be here. I think we can afford to skip one more turn before closing that passage off. We'll see here. The air elemental was damaged by fire. Before my air elemental left, it got damaged by that stack you saw there. Okay, so time to close this passage. And let's not forget to open the one up here. Otherwise the game starts glitching out and freaking out. I'm gonna bring another air elemental and put it into this tile. Yeah, they're approaching with quite a force here. We might have to evac in the next couple of turns. But for now, as before, we're dealing as much damage as possible. Scoring as many kills as possible. Horsemen. Did these infernal units turn back? Okay, we haven't seen yet. Did I open up the passage up here? Yes, I did. Okay, excellent. Let's see where all these units go. Yes, they're getting a lot closer. So this is the big question. Can we last one more turn over here or not? Apparently these units are only moving one tile at a time because they're limited by the axemen. So in theory then, we should have a couple of turns. This turn, next turn. We'll probably do this turn and next turn. Next turn we'll probably capture the city. I think that would be the safest way to do this. And unfortunately, we have a lot of units that need to be killed yet to win this scenario. Nonetheless, let's continue here. 99.9, excellent. Okay. I'm curious to see where the nearest units are towards the top of the map here. They are a reasonable distance away yet, it would appear. So we won't have to worry about doing that anytime soon, closing that passage up anytime soon. Okay, we have a couple of wraiths over here. I mean, on the bright side here, we can bombard them at the same time as the rest of these units because of the range on the mages, so both of those were damaged. But we didn't get any more units that spawned in that city. So I'm just gonna... I think I'm gonna take the city. Let me double check here. I want to make sure that... Okay, yes, those units are approaching. As you can... Well, maybe they're not. That seems to be about the same tile they were on last time. Maybe we can afford to wait a turn. Maybe. No, let's not. Let's take this city. I think. Those wraiths there are going to be tricky. We'll get units, but I'm not sure we'll be able to take the wraiths out with our units. Yeah, let's take the city this turn. So there we go, city raised. Though blood fades and bones become dust, may your spirit remain strong. As long as it does, the banner will stand beside you. We will meet you in the Deadlands. For now, take these men to aid your cause. But beware, for faithful Sabbathel told stories of Basium, and he is unbound by moral virtues. So as you can see here, we got some additional units courtesy of the banner. It's interesting, the banner says the banner of civilization has been destroyed. That's just because we completed their quest successfully. Okay, I'm going to try using these fireballs. Maybe they'll do some damage to these wraiths. Make it easier to take them out. Yes, as a matter of fact, it did. Excellent. Use these newly acquired champions. Oh, they're afraid to attack, huh? Well, that one wasn't, thankfully. That one was. So one of the things that we could do here, obviously, I think. Maybe we can't. Let's try it with this unit. Okay, the Confessor worked. The Confessor was not afraid to attack. So that gave us a few more kills there. Excellent. Looks like we're seeing the first hounds approach. A little bit worried about this stack and my Confessor there. There's really nothing I can do though. I think I used the mage here that has the mobility promotion. Yeah, I did. I'm just going to bring these ships in and load as many units as I can onto it. And hopefully we'll be able to salvage something of the rest of that force before these Iras attack me. We'll have to see though. Oh, it appears they're going back now. Probably because the city no longer needs defending from them or by them. I'm going to put as many of these units on board as I can. That appears to be all of them. So let's head back that direction. Hellhounds are approaching. I'm just going to have these champions off to the side there. I'll come back for them later. And the Hellhounds are probably really close now. That's the reason I don't see them anymore. Let's scout out here. Yeah, we probably want to close this passage off now. Which of course means we open the one down here again. And the ship will probably be there in time to deal with the enemy units that come along. So this is when we'll actually start taking out some of these units that we see walking back and forth up here along this border that I'm defending. So it wasn't as much as I like. I mean, it's 57 units left, unfortunately. I'd like to be 50 or less, so this is going to be harder than it would be otherwise, but there's really no way you can predict what will happen. So it's really not unrealistic, I guess you could say. Should I do Fireball? I like to have my options open. Let's do Fireball. Excellent. So all of our units are here. I'm going to go ahead and unload them as quickly as possible. I can't just right-click the tile and have all the units exit, because even though the units have movement points, the ships do not, and for some weird reason they won't let the units move off unless the ships have movement points. Just one of those odd quirks. So there we go. We've got all of our units back over here. And we removed the required city. I think we're going to get the ships out of the way at this point. Let's promote Guybrush again. So I have most of these units fortify here. In addition to that, Radiant Guard up there. Okay, they're getting a little bit close. I think it's time to throw some magic at them. Combat 3. Let's try this. Okay, the Ranger's already fully damaged. My plan is to use this Stone Elemental here to get over there. There we go. So we got that Ranger taken out. I'm just going to have the ships sleep for now. Okay, and we have more units approaching. As per what we did before. Let's use the Maelstrom. We have a lot of well-promoted units here to try to take them out. There we go. These units could get as far as here. It depends. This could be a little bit dicey. If they move on to this tile, it means I'll have to use special units to attack them. There are 4 of them there. How many units do we have that can move 2 tiles? 2 hunters, probably won't be able to use those. We have a ranger and we have the stone elemental, so we probably want to close this area off for at least one time here. And try to get those units to retreat a little bit. Alternatively, what I could do instead is actually position a unit up there to make sure they don't occupy that tile. Let's try that instead. That'll force them to go next to my units. So there, as you can see, it's basically what I figured they would do. Oh, this unfortunately will hurt my hunters when I do this now. I hadn't quite considered that. But never mind. Let's take out these horsemen here. And then there's also a scout. And look at that big pile of units right there. That is quite a few. But once again, we shouldn't have too much of an issue with them. I'm going to move these hunters into position, and we're going to open up the area up here. Okay, it's already open. I need an opportunity here to regroup some of my units, I think. So we have that turn skipped. And it's turn 40. As you can see, the units are headed up there quite predictably. Let's open up this passageway again. I'm gonna promote for healing of our units here. Just have them all heal. We're gonna close this passage up. And yeah, that should do it. They should be coming back now. As you can see, these turn times are taking a little bit longer. As, yeah, look at all those units. As Highborn gets more and more units, his turn times increase. skip these turns. It's a delicate process, I guess you could say. Horsemen should be over here. Yep. I think we can take them out with our standard units. Like that. This passage is closed again, so we should open one up top for a turn. There we go. And wow, I think we're just about done for this turn, or for this episode. Let's open the passageway back up. There we go. Close this one back up. Not that exciting overall, I suppose you could say. What's going on here is not the most interesting, for sure. It's a bit repetitious. And I just don't have a whole lot to say about it. Okay, there. We have some more units that passed through, a succubus and a scout. And I think that's where we're going to leave it for this episode. We're approaching the 1 hour mark. So I think that's pretty good. It's turn 45, and we have 47 units left to destroy. So here are 2, 7, 8, 9, 20, 21. Looks like we'll get at least another 21 easy kills before we actually have to start invading the Highborms, or the Infernal Lands over here. That's going to be a bit trickier. I was hoping to use a ship, but that doesn't appear to be possible because we can't sail into this area. So one thing I should do before ending this episode is sail the ships over here to pick up my champions that I got for free. That's the start of the Radiant Guard scenario. Thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.